Jai Shri Ram. This is day 5 of Valmiki Ramayana for Kids by Pranav Shankar. Yesterday we covered Guha and Rama, Sita and Lakshmana settling in Chitrakuta, Dasharatha's death, Bharata's return to Ayodhya, Bharata's journey to bring Rama back to Ayodhya, Rama's offer of his Paduka and the Paduka Pattabhisheka, and Rama, Lakshmana and Sita's leaving of Chitrakuta and entering the Dandaka forest. Aranya Kandam. When Rama entered the great Dandaka forest along with Sita and Lakshmana, seeing saints living their lives of rituals and penance was very welcoming. On their way, they encountered a demon, Viradha, who was once a Gandharva. Rama released him from his curse and moved on. Rama and Lakshmana then proceeded towards the ashrama of sage Sharabhanga along with Sita. Sharabhanga had been waiting to have a darshana of Rama before leaving this earth. Rama, Sita and Lakshmana offered salutations to the sage and earned his grace. Later, a group of sages approached Rama and told him of the suffering they were enduring at the hands of Rakshasas of the forest. Rama assured them that he would kill the Rakshasas and relieve them of their afflictions. They then visited the ashrama of sage Sutikshna and spent a night enjoying his hospitality before leaving. Wandering in the forest and staying in different ashramas and killing troublesome Rakshasas, they spent 10 years happily. As their forest life was approaching its closing years, Rama went back to sage Sutikshna's ashrama and spent some time with him. One day he asked the sage regarding Agastya Rishi. Sage Sutikshna directed Rama to the hermitage of Agastya. As they approached the ashrama, Agastya sent his disciple to receive them and bring them to the ashrama. Rama was thrilled at the sight of the great Rishi. Humbly accepting gifts from the sage, Rama sought leave of Agastya. Agastya advised them to spend the remaining time of their exile in Panchavati on the banks of the river Godavari. Following Agastya's instructions, they reached Panchavati. They were thrilled by its beauty. Lakshmana chose an ideal spot and built a beautiful hut of grass and wood. Rama admired his skill and workmanship. They lived happily in the hut, enjoying the natural beauty all around them. One day, a Rakshasi or demoness arrived at the ashrama. She introduced herself as Shurpanakha, the sister of King Ravana. She expressed her desire to marry Rama. Rama, in humorous jest, told her to go to Lakshmana, as he was a good match to her beauty. Lakshmana too joined his brother in the fun and directed her back to Rama, telling her that she would be a mere servant if she was married to him. Thus, being sent back and forth, Shurpanakha lost her patience, and seeing Sita as the stumbling block and obstacle in her marrying Rama, she furiously advanced towards her. Rama saw this grave turn, and in concern for Sita's safety, he pointed at Lakshmana to teach Shurpanakha a lesson. Lakshmana promptly chopped off her nose and ears. Bleeding profusely, She ran with great anger towards her brothers Khara and Dushana and complained to them about the insult that she had received. Furious at Rama and Lakshmana, Khara and Dushana proceeded to Panchavati with an army of 14,000 Rakshasas to fight Rama. Rama instructed Lakshmana to lead Sita to a cave and protect her there. Single-handedly, he fought and killed every Rakshasa with the exception of one, Akampana. The gods showered flowers from the sky in admiration of Rama's prowess. Ravana heard with great anguish about the total destruction of the Rakshasa army, including his brothers Khara and Dushana. He immediately set out on his chariot to kill Rama, but Akampana discouraged Ravana from fighting Rama and instead suggested him to capture Sita, the beautiful wife of Rama, and whom Rama loved more than his life. Maricha, who knew the power of Rama's arrows from his previous encounters with him, stopped Ravana from committing this grave offense by describing to him about the valor of Rama. Though Ravana did not fear Rama, he valued the words of Maricha and decided to give up to pursue Sita. In the meanwhile, Shurpanaka arrived at Ravana's palace and indicated to him for the insult she had suffered and influenced him to capture Sita as a punishment to Rama. She evoked in him a passion for Sita by describing her beauty to him. Ravana decided to take her at any cost. Once again, he went to Maricha, seeking his help, and told him of his plan of action. Ravana asked Maricha to take the form of a beautiful golden deer with silver spots and jeweled horns and roam in the vicinity of Panchavati. Maricha tried to unconvince Ravana of his plan, but he later decided he would rather be killed by Rama than Ravana and accepted Ravana's plan. He got into Ravana's chariot and they reached Dandaka. Maricha changed himself into a capturing golden deer and wandered around the ashrama playfully in order to draw Sita's attention. Sita, suddenly seeing the deer and enchanted by its charming beauty, called out to Rama and Lakshmana and asked them to look at the exquisite animal. Lakshmana suspected the reality of the form of the deer and concluded that it was a trick of a Rakshasa. But Sita requested Rama to capture the deer and bring it to her. Rama could not resist and asked Lakshmana to look after Sita as he proceeded to chase the deer. Playing hide and seek, Maricha, in the form of the golden deer, drew Rama far away from the ashrama in order to give Ravana plenty of time and opportunity to carry out his plan. Tired of the chase, Rama decided to shoot an arrow at the animal at the next glimpse. As he shot the arrow, it pierced the deer and killed it. While dying, Maricha resumed his original form of a Rakshasa and simulating Rama's voice, he cried out, "Hey Sita! Hey Lakshmana!" At first, Rama feared tragic consequences of this cry, but later comforted himself knowing that Lakshmana would protect Sita in the ashrama. Hearing Rama's voice, Sita became worried, thinking Rama's life was in danger. She begged Lakshmana to go and help Rama. Lakshmana, sensing danger for Sita, decided to obey his brother's command and refused to leave her alone. Sita's fear turned into anger against Lakshmana. Lakshmana reluctantly left her. Ravana, who had himself been hiding in the bushes, came out in the open after making sure that Lakshmana was out of sight. In the disguise of a sannyasi, Ravana approached the ashrama and requested for food. Sita received him with respect and offered him a seat. Suddenly, Ravana assumed his real form and placed her into his chariot. Within moments, his chariot was in the air. En route, Jatayu, an eagle bird whom Rama had helped in the forest earlier, resisted Ravana and tried to make him stop. Ravana did not listen to Jatayu and overpowered Jatayu in the fight. Jatayu fell on the ground, half conscious. Sita cried all through the journey. She dropped her ornaments and jewels while passing over a mountain peak where they landed near a group of monkeys. On reaching Lanka, Ravana put her into the Ashokavana, or royal grove and gardens, closely guarded by a number of Rakshasas. Jai Shri Ram.